Hello everyone, this is Kate Brunn. Today I wanted to introduce my article, Girlhood Interrupted, written by Rebecca Epstein from the Center of Poverty and Inequality at Georgetown Law Center. And this article focuses mainly on the mistreatment and adultification of Black girls in public systems, both education and the justice system. So the problem. Epstein and her team conducted a study that asked 325 adults from various racial and ethnic backgrounds and different educational levels across the United States 9 questions. And they were randomly assigned questions about Black girls or white girls. The questions were as follows. How often do Black or white females assume adult responsibilities? How much do Black or white females seem older than their age? How much do Black or white females need to be supported? How much do they need to be comforted? And how independent are Black or white females? How knowledgeable are Black or white females about sex? So they were given rating scales to answer these questions and also age groups of the girls that might change the perceptions about them. Data was finally collected, and this is what was found. Black girls are viewed as more adult and less innocent than their white peers. Within the ages of 5 to 14 is when their adultification peaks, according to the perceptions of those surveyed. So this adultification is that they're less innocent. Results also showed that those surveys believed that Black girls needed less nurturing, support, and comfort, and that they know more about adult topics and sex than white girls do. And this is really interesting because we are still not entirely sure why the perceptions of these Black girls change so drastically, and they start to change as soon as they hit 5 years of age. So they're not exactly sure why this occurs. The findings show that this can negatively impact Black girls' experiences within the educational system. They are more likely to face harsher discipline by those in the schools, and are often given less leadership opportunities and chances to achieve. And of course, if they cannot achieve in school, then they may have higher dropout rates and are often recommended to the juvenile justice system, where again, they face harsher punishments than their white peers. So I wanted to look at historical connections to see why these things are still happening to Black girls. And I've been reading this book called African American Childhoods by Wilma King. And in it, she addresses what growing up as a Black child looked like from the beginning of slavery to the present day. She talks a bit about this adultification of children, and she says that there has always been a need for Black children to prove their worth. In slavery, children were often seen as adults because of the situations they were in, heavy labor and caring for households. So they weren't given much time to play because no one saw that as an immediate need. And automatically this nurturing was taken away from them. As time went on and slaves were freed, there was still a need to prove that they were just as human as any white person. And by 1957, with the Little Rock Nine, as we talked about in class, the Black students were saying, I have every right to have an education that is of the same quality that the white students get. And so when these 9 students walked into that school, it was like a war zone. The white people and members of the KKK did not want them there because of these awful perceptions about them. And in this book, Wilma King also mentions that one of the Little Rock Nine, Melba Patillo Beals, said once that, please God, let me learn how to stop being a warrior. Sometimes I just need to be a girl. And there's her picture there. But this view that Black children have to fend for themselves or prove that they aren't adults and that they need nurturing and opportunities still continues today. And this even happens in schools that are fully integrated. I think that should really bother us as we are future educators because it's really not good for them. So I wanted to move into what the survey showed now, and they cover both the educational system and the justice system. The perceptions that people hold about Black girls as more adult have these effects. In school, Black girls tend to be suspended more than white girls. They are often given harsher punishment by school officials and teachers. They are referred to law enforcement more and are arrested more at school than white girls. And they are disciplined more frequently than white girls for infractions, and those can be as simple as a dress code violation. In the justice system, black girls are formally petitioned more than white girls, and they are often referred to the juvenile system more. They are detained more than white girls, and they also have less of a chance for their cases to be diverted or excused in court. I also noticed that these are also all in comparison to white girls instead of black boys. In one of the articles that I read by the African American Policy Forum, they suggested that there are more studies done to compare black boys and girls than there are to black girls and white girls, and that would not be entirely helpful. So I appreciated that this article compared girls together. On this slide, you'll see the main chart from Girlhood Interrupted that shows this adultification view of black girls in comparison to white girls. And you'll notice that something switches around 5 years old, but other than cultural prejudice, it is not clear why this perception changes so immediately. And it also peaks right around the ages of 10 to 14. Again, they really don't know why this implicit bias changes so much. So it's kind of interesting to look at. So because of this adultification, or this view that black girls need less support and nurturing, as students, they are seen as in less need of academic achievement. They tend to be given less leadership opportunities, and their chances of dropping out are higher. They also are mentioned more in the conversation of the school-to-prison pipeline just because of their skin color. And in the article Race, Gender, and the School-to-Prison Pipeline by Monique W. Morris, she mentioned that more discussion and research needs to be had about why black females are in this pipeline, that more black boys are in it than females, but they still need to be in the narrative. And so you can't forget that there's also black girls in the pipeline. So all of these things combine to create a very harsh world for a black girl. They may lose their childhood or innocence just because they have to prove that they are worthy of being in school and are in need of nurturing and support. Of course, it's been many, many years that these problems have occurred, and solutions are pretty slow going and scarce. But some of the things that we can do to better support black girls in the public system are to first start talking about the issues. It's possible that people still do not recognize that there is even a problem, especially if they hold these biases. Checking for implicit bias is super important, and as an educator, there are always opportunities for you to learn where your biases lie and how you might combat them. Teachers love to learn, and so reading about the experiences of black girls or just talking with them openly will help us to understand a little bit more about what is happening. I'm definitely planning on finishing the book that I mentioned earlier because it is really interesting to hear parts of history that are often left out about black children. And then, of course, we know that the classroom dynamic and teaching strategies and relationships we make with our students can greatly transform what their experiences look like. So we must use our platform as educators to represent and support black girls well. I wanted to end with this quote from the Girlhood Interrupted article because I think it sums up what we need to take away from the study. And it says, "Black girls possess varied experiences and skills, all of which need to be viewed as strengths. In other words, there are a multitude of ways of being a black girl, and no one set of behaviors should be expected or demanded from them to be given equal access to educational opportunity." And I'll leave you with that. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that we can continue the narrative about black girls and their mistreatment in the public systems.